I never thought death would come so suddenly, nor did I imagine what awaited us beyond. The crash was violent metal crunching, glass shattering, the world spinning into darkness. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in a hospital room or surrounded by frantic voices. Instead, I found myself in a place bathed in an impossible light, warm yet pure, as if the sun itself was alive and embracing me. I looked around and saw Hermie Partner, the woman I loved fiercely, yet whom the world never fully accepted. She was there too, calm, radiant, no longer burdened by pain or fear. But then, everything shifted. A figure appeared, not like any I had seen before. His presence was gentle yet commanding, filled with an overwhelming love that pierced through every doubt I'd ever held. It was Jesus. The sight of him was unlike any painting or story I'd encountered, a being of light, grace, and infinite compassion. And then he spoke, not in thunder or judgment, but in a voice that soothed every ache in my soul. The words he said to us that day would change everything we thought we knew about love, sin, and acceptance. It was the beginning of a truth I had never dared to hope for. That moment was not just an awakening, it was a revolution in my soul. Jesus showed us that love, in its purest form, is wholly untainted by the fears and prejudices of the world. What he said would forever change my understanding of myself, of my relationship, and of the very nature of God's grace. I knew, without question, that what awaited us was not punishment, but a radical, unconditional acceptance. For the first time, I glimpsed a divine love so profound that it reshaped the very foundation of my existence. As the radiant presence of Jesus enveloped us, I felt a warmth unlike anything I had ever known, all-consuming love that penetrated every corner of my heart, revealing both my deepest fears and my hidden longings. He looked at us not with disdain or judgment, but with eyes filled with infinite mercy. His gaze was so pure, so penetrating, it felt as if he could see every moment of our lives, the joy, the pain, the love we shared, and the countless times we had been told we were wrong, unworthy, or sinful. He spoke gently, his voice like a melody that calmed the raging storms inside me. My children, I see your hearts. I see the love you hold for one another, a love born not of selfish desire, but of deep companionship and faithfulness. His words pierced through the lies that had bound us for so long, the guilt imposed by a world that refused to understand the fullness of love's expression. He told us, "You have been told you are condemned, but I say to you, love is the greatest commandment. It is the reflection of my Father's heart. Do not allow the chains of judgment to imprison you any longer." I felt tears streaming down my face, not of sorrow but of relief, as the burden of shame began to lift like a heavy fog dissolving in the dawn. Jesus then revealed a vision to use images of people everywhere, bound by fear and hate, struggling to understand the mystery of love beyond their limited minds. "Many suffer because they do not see with the eyes of the heart," he said. "But you who have loved truly, will be part of a healing greater than you can imagine." In that moment, I understood. Our love was not a sin, but a spark of the divine, a fragile yet powerful testimony to God's infinite capacity to love. Then he spoke of forgiveness, not just for the world, but for ourselves. "You must forgive those who rejected you, and forgive yourselves for the pain you have carried. Only then will you know the freedom I offer." I thought of all the years I had lived in fear, hiding who I truly was, ashamed of what others said. Now I saw those years in a new light, a painful but necessary journey toward this moment of revelation. Jesus extended his hands toward us and said, "Come closer, for you are beloved daughters of the Most High. Your souls are precious beyond measure, and nothing can separate you from my love." As I stepped forward, I felt a peace so profound it settled deep in my bones, a peace I had never known in this life. The realization hit me that death was not the end, but a passage into a love greater than I had ever dared to imagine. In that sacred place, with Jesus beside us, I knew that everything the world had told us was a lie. Our love was not a mistake. It was part of God's beautiful, mysterious plan. And whatever awaited us next, it would be with grace, mercy, and love beyond all measure. Time lost all meaning in that place of light and peace, yet moments stretched into what felt like an eternity of profound revelation. Jesus continued to speak to us not with words alone, but with a presence that conveyed truth beyond language. I could feel his compassion flowing like a river through my very soul, washing away every lingering doubt, every trace of fear or shame that I had carried in my heart for so long. He said, "You have known love in this life, imperfect though it was, but now you are learning what true love means, the kind that is eternal, unchanging, and pure. It is not bound by earthly rules or human expectations. This love comes from the heart of God himself." I closed my eyes, and in that silence, I felt the fullness of his love embrace me, healing wounds I didn't even know were so deep. Jesus then asked us to look at one another, not as the world had labeled us, but as beloved children of God, made in his image. For the first time, I truly saw her, the woman I had loved fiercely, who had been my refuge and my joy. There was no fear, no judgment between us here, only a sacred bond, illuminated by the divine light of acceptance. He told us, "Your relationship has been a reflection of the love I have for all my children. Do not be afraid of who you are. The love you share is a gift, a seed of the divine planted within your souls. This is the love that heals, redeems, and transforms." As he spoke, I felt my heart swell with a joy so pure it nearly overwhelmed me. But then, his voice softened, and I sensed a solemn warning woven into his mercy. The path ahead will not be easy. The world you left behind is still filled with fear and misunderstanding. You will face challenges, rejection, and suffering for what you believe. Yet, hold fast to this truth. You are never alone. My love will be your shield, your refuge, and your strength. I trembled, realizing that our journey was far from over, not in this realm, nor in the one we had just left. But with Jesus by our side, I felt a courage I had never known. The certainty that love, real, unshakable love, would be our guiding light through whatever darkness awaited. Then he spoke of forgiveness again, not only for those who had hurt us, but for the world itself, still caught in confusion and fear. "You are called to be witnesses of love," he said. "Through your testimony, many will find the courage to embrace the truth of their own hearts." For the first time, I understood that our story was not just ours, it was part of a greater plan to bring light into the darkness, to break chains of hatred and bring healing to a broken world. And in that place, surrounded by infinite light and the presence of Jesus, I felt a peace that surpassed all understanding, a peace that told me love truly conquers all. As the light around us shimmered softly, Jesus continued to reveal truths that unsettled every preconception I had held about myself, about love, and about God. He spoke not only with words, but through an overwhelming sense of clarity and understanding that radiated from his very being. I felt as if every question I had ever carried, the doubts, the fears, the relentless search for acceptance, were finally met with answers that soothed the deepest parts of my soul. He said, "The world has often spoken harshly to those who love differently, but understand this: God's love does not conform to human prejudice or fear. The heart of the Creator is wide enough to embrace all his children, regardless of the paths they have walked." As he spoke, I could feel the truth of those words sinking into me like sunlight melting away frost. The boundaries that had once felt so rigid, the walls built by judgment and exclusion, began to crumble. Jesus turned to us with a smile filled with infinite tenderness. "Your love is not a sin, nor a mistake. It is a reflection of my divine love, selfless, sacrificial, and enduring. But I also call you to a higher understanding, one of humility and grace. The world may not yet be ready to receive this truth fully, but you are called to be the light that shines in the darkness, a testament to love's transforming power. I felt a stirring deep inside, a mixture of awe and responsibility. This love we shared, which had brought us both joy and pain, was now charged with a sacred mission. We were not simply to live in the shadows of society's judgment, but to rise as witnesses to a love that transcends human understanding. Then Jesus spoke of forgiveness once more, emphasizing its power not just to heal wounds, but to break cycles of hurt and bitterness. Forgive those who have wronged you, even if they do not seek forgiveness. Forgive yourselves for carrying burdens of shame. In forgiveness, you find freedom and the ability to love without limits. The enormity of this message settled heavily on my heart. I thought of all the nights spent hiding, all the times I had doubted my worth, all the pain caused by rejection from family, friends, even strangers. Yet here, in this place of unending light, I was invited to release it all to be free. Jesus then extended his hand, inviting us to walk with him through a vision of our future, a future that, while uncertain in the earthly realm, was filled with hope and purpose. You will face trials, but you will never be alone. My love will guide you, strengthen you, and renew your spirit. With those words, a wave of peace washed over me, deeper and more complete than any I had ever experienced. I understood that our love, once hidden and burdened by fear, was now a Bicona sacred flame in a world desperate for healing. As I looked into her eyes, I saw reflected the same newfound courage and hope. Together, we would carry this message back to the world, no longer ashamed but empowered by a love that is divine and eternal. The vision Jesus showed us began to unfold around us, scenes from a world we once knew, yet now seen through a lens of divine truth and mercy. I watched as faces flashed before me, people caught in hatred, in fear, in loneliness, so many struggling under the weight of judgment and misunderstanding. Yet Jesus' presence illuminated even the darkest corners, revealing the possibility of transformation through love. He spoke quietly but with undeniable authority. You will return to that world, and it will not be easy. The love you have shared and the truth you now carry will be met with resistance, sometimes fierce, often cruel. Many will misunderstand you, and some will even seek to hurt you for it. But remember, the light shines brightest in the darkest places. His words stirred a mix of fear and resolve within me. I thought about the life I had left behind, the whispered insults, the cold shoulders from family members who couldn't accept who I was, the quiet loneliness despite the fierce love we shared. I had hidden parts of myself, afraid of rejection, afraid of the harsh judgments imposed by society and even by religion. But now, standing in this eternal light, I was called to live without fear, to embrace the courage that comes from knowing I was beloved by God beyond all measure. Jesus continued, "Your journey will be one of witness. By living openly in truth and love, you will challenge others to confront their own fears and prejudices. Through your example, hearts will soften, and many will come to understand that love is not a sin, but a divine gift meant to unite, heal, and redeem." I felt tears welling up, not of sorrow, but of deep gratitude and awe. The burden of secrecy, of shame, was lifted. In its place grew a sense of Meshiuna, calling to be a beacon of hope in a world so desperately in need of love and acceptance. Then, with a voice full of compassion, Jesus said, "Know that forgiveness is the key that unlocks the chains of bitterness. Forgive those who have hurt you, even when forgiveness seems impossible. Forgive yourselves for any doubts or regrets you carry. Only through forgiveness will you find true freedom and peace." I thought about the years I had spent battling self-hatred, internalizing the harsh words spoken against us. I realized how much that had weighed on my spirit, how it had dimmed the light within me. But now, in this sacred presence, I was invited to let go, to release every fragment of pain and embrace the healing power of grace. Jesus then placed his hands over our hearts and whispered, "You are my beloved children, created in my image. Your love reflects the eternal love I have for all souls. Walk forward with confidence, knowing you are never alone. My spirit will be with you always, a refuge in times of trial and a source of strength in moments of weakness. In that moment, I felt a surge of power and peace, unlike anything I had ever known. I was not defined by my past, my struggles, or the labels the world had placed upon me. I was a beloved daughter of God, called to live boldly and love fiercely. As I looked at her, the woman who had stood beside me through every hardship, I saw reflected in her eyes the same newfound courage. Together, we would face whatever lay ahead, fortified by a love that transcended earthly judgment and grounded in the eternal embrace of God's mercy. I knew then that our story was not just our own, it was part of a larger tapestry of redemption, a testimony to the transformative power of love and forgiveness. And as we prepared to return to the world of the living, I felt ready not just to survive, but to thrive, to shine, and to be a living witness to the boundless grace we had been shown. As the vision faded and the presence of Jesus remained near, he began to prepare us for the return to the earthly realm, a world still filled with division, pain, and misunderstanding. His words were tender, yet firm, carrying the weight of truth and the promise of hope. "You have glimpsed the eternal truth of love," he said, "and it is now your task to carry that truth back with you. You will face many who reject it, but do not lose heart. My love will strengthen you in every moment." I felt the reality of those words press upon me. The world we were about to re-enter was harsh and unkind, especially to those like us. I remembered the stares, the whispered judgments, the countless times I had felt invisible or condemned simply because of whom I loved. Yet now, after what we had seen and heard, I knew I could never live in fear again. Jesus then spoke of healing for the wounds inflicted by others and those we inflicted on ourselves. "Carry no bitterness in your heart," he urged. "Forgiveness is your path to freedom. Forgive those who have cast stones and those who have whispered lies, but also forgive yourselves for the pain you have carried alone." I thought about how much I had internalized that pain, how it had shaped my identity in ways I never admitted. The weight of self-condemnation was heavy, but now, in this holy presence, I was invited to lay it down, to let it go completely. He continued, "Your love is a reflection of divine love, complex, imperfect, yet sacred. Do not allow the world's narrow definitions to limit what you know in your heart to be true. You are worthy. You are beloved. You are enough." The depth of those words overwhelmed me. For the first time, I felt a freedom that was not dependent on anyone else's approval. I was accepted fully, without condition, in a way that transcended human understanding. Jesus then gave us a final charge: be beacons of hope. Live your truth with courage and humility. Share the love you have experienced here, not with anger or bitterness, but with compassion and grace. Through your witness, many will find healing and peace. In that sacred moment, I understood that our love story was now a sacred mission. It was no longer hidden or shameful, but a testament to God's boundless mercy and the transformative power of grace. As I prepared to return, I felt a profound peace settle over me, a peace that would sustain me through whatever trials awaited. And looking at her, I saw the same strength mirrored back, a fierce determination to live openly, honestly, and lovingly. We were no longer defined by the past or the world's rejection. We were daughters of light, chosen to carry a message of hope to a broken world. The moment approached when we would leave this realm of radiant light and return to the fragile, imperfect world we had once known. Yet, I no longer feared what awaited us. The journey we had taken together, the crash, the darkness, the encounter with Jesus, had reshaped my very soul. I was no longer the woman defined by shame or rejection, but someone reborn in the purest love imaginable. Jesus looked at us with a gaze so full of compassion it made my heart ache with gratitude. "Remember," he said, "that the love you share is a reflection of the divine love that created the universe. It is a powerful force for healing, even in a world that may reject it. Carry this truth with you as a shield against fear and hatred." I felt a deep stirring inside, a mixture of awe, humility, and fierce determination. I thought of all the moments when we had hidden our love, whispered apologies for who we were, and feared the consequences of living openly. Those days seemed distant now, as if they belonged to another lifetime. What mattered now was the calling placed upon us, to be beacons of truth and grace in a world desperate for both. Jesus then spoke of the challenges ahead of the voices that would seek to diminish us, the walls built by fear and ignorance that would try to block our path. "Do not be discouraged by the darkness," he said softly. "The light you carry is stronger than any shadow. Stand firm in love and truth. When you stumble, I will be with you to lift you up." His words filled me with a courage I had never known. I realized that our love was not just personal but profoundly spiritual, a testament to the possibility of grace breaking through every barrier. It was a call to live boldly, with open hearts and unwavering faith. Jesus then blessed us, his hands warm and comforting on our heads. "Go forth with peace in your hearts and joy in your spirits. Let your lives be a living prayer of love and forgiveness. Through your witness, the world will see glimpses of the kingdom of heaven." As the moment to return neared, I looked at Hermie partner, my beloved, and saw reflected in her eyes the same resolve and hope. Together, we would face the world anew, no longer hiding but standing as living proof of the love that conquers all. I felt a deep gratitude for this second chance, this divine encounter that had transformed fear into hope, shame into dignity, and rejection into acceptance. Our story, once filled with pain and struggle, was now a sacred testimony to the unending mercy of God. And as the light began to fade and the reality of the earthly world returned, I carried within me a new strength, the knowledge that we were forever held in the embrace of divine love, and that love would guide every step we took. Returning to the world of the living was like emerging from a dream. The colors seemed duller, the air heavier, and yet within me burned a fire that no darkness could extinguish. The crash, the pain, the fear, they all felt distant now, shadows compared to the radiant truth I had been shown. I was no longer the scared woman hiding in the margins, but a daughter of divine love, called to live openly and boldly. The first moments back were overwhelming. Sounds were sharper, smells more vivid, but my heart was calm. I could feel the lingering presence of Jesus within me, like a quiet flame that refused to be snuffed out. It was this flame that gave me strength, even as the world around me remained cold and judgmental. I knew the path ahead would be difficult, filled with misunderstanding, prejudice, and pain. But I also knew I was never alone. I began to understand that Jesus' message wasn't just for us in that transcendent realm. It was a call to action here, in this flawed, broken world, to live authentically, to love without apology, and to extend the same grace and mercy we had received to other those who opposed us. His love had shattered the chains of fear, and in that freedom, I found purpose. As days passed, the eyes of the world fell upon us with suspicion and sometimes hostility. Some whispered behind our backs, others outright rejected what we represented. But within me was an unshakable peace. I remembered Jesus' words show, "The light shines brightest in the darkness," and I knew our love was that light. Our story, once hidden and burdened by shame, became a beacon for others trapped in fear and loneliness. I reached out to those who suffered, who felt unloved and unworthy. I shared the message of mercy, forgiveness, and acceptance, the message Jesus had revealed to us. Slowly, hearts began to open, walls began to crumble, and I witnessed small miracles of healing. Not everyone would understand or embrace this truth, but for those who did, life was transformed. Most importantly, I forgave myself for the years I spent hiding, for the self-doubt, and for the pain I carried alone. I forgave those who rejected us, releasing bitterness and embracing compassion. In that forgiveness, I found true freedom. Now, as I walk this path, I am filled with a profound hope here, hope rooted in the divine love that transcends all human judgment. I carry Jesus' words in my heart. "You are beloved, You are enough. Love is holy. These words are my armor and my guide. Our love story is no longer one of shame or fear. It is a testimony to God's unending mercy and the transformative power of grace. We live as witnesses to a love that conquers all breaking barriers, healing wounds, and lighting the way for others to find peace. In every step we take, in every act of kindness and courage, we honor the sacred truth we were shown. And in that truth, I have found my true home forever, embraced by a love that knows no bounds.